Here 2021. And before we begin, I want you to know that this event is being recorded via Zoom and will be shared via Facebook Live for Langston, Seattle. So thank you so much for joining. If you are here in Zoom, you can go ahead and turn your cameras off and mute as we start our conversation, and we thank you for that. And then we'll ask you to turn them back on when we go into our workshops. My name is Mary Ann Osborne, and I'm the Executive Director of the Mahogany Project. And today is Juneteenth, y'all. Today is Juneteenth, and we're so glad that you are here with us this morning to celebrate what is now a national holiday. You know, art and innovation has been in the DNA of our ancestors since the beginning of time, and it has lifted us up through good times and through tough times. And this Juneteenth morning is a good time, and we're going to have some fun uplifting ourselves with creativity with this morning's presentation, Saturday morning cartoons, comic book makers, illustrators, storytellers, and animators. I'm so happy to have with me today 4 phenomenal local artists. Key Porter. Key, you want to say a little hello there so you know who Key is over there in her, there. Yay. Hey, Key, in her studio. We also have Dorothy Sakabira. Dorothy, you want to wave? There's Dorothy, as well as Miles Irwin.
Hello.
Hey, Miles. Hey. And Mujale Chisebuka. Mujale.
Hey, how's you doing?
Wonderful. So I want to thank all of the artists, all of you who are watching, and of course our supporters and funders, including the Office of Arts and Culture with the City of Seattle, Shunpike, and a big thanks to Langston, Seattle, and Minerva Labs. Jasmine and Michael B. Main, thank you so much for supporting the whole program. They are the producers of the program, We Out Here Seattle, and for helping us today. Now, the Mahogany Project is a collaborative arts organization. We have a mission to support artists from the African diaspora and showcase their work, hear their voices, and provide a space for them to tell their story. And we've been around since 2006, and we love to bring programming like today, where you can not only meet these wonderful artists, but also today's really special. We're going to virtually attempt to hold workshops where you get to create with each of them. So before I start, I want to remind everyone that we will be having these breakout rooms, and you can join one of these wonderful artists. This is an all ages event. We don't care what level of artistry you're at. If you're a beginner, I feel like I'm a constant beginner, and I still do stick people, y'all, and I'm a grown woman. So whatever level you're at, it's just that time to have fun and to learn. And we will, get into that later in the program. But first, we want to make sure you do have a few supplies ready. Yourself, that's pretty important. Your creativity and just letting go. If you have pencils, erasers, if you have markers, colored pencils, paint, whatever you might have around the house, it's doable, right? Don't forget to have some paper. If you have a sketchbook, that's wonderful. If you don't, just some paper. If you have a piece of paper with writing on one side and it's blank on the other, go ahead and use the blank side. It's all right. It's just us. We're family today. And something you can write on. We also want to let you know, if you're going to join Miles in the animation workshop, you might have seen this. There is a special download you can do on your mobile device. It's called Flip-A-Clip. And we'll go ahead and put it into and so you can download Flip-A-Clip, whether it's an Android or you have an iPhone, and you'll be able to draw with Miles, do animation on your phone. Is that crazy? Okay, I'm kind of old school because that's like crazy to me, and I love it. So we'll put Flip-A-Clip. It's flipaclip.com. And so just want to make sure that you have that downloaded before we start our workshop. So without further ado, what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce each artist. We'll have a chance to get to know them. And then at the end, we'll do some other Q&A and then go into the workshops. So we're going to be first talking Here we go. We're going to first talk with Miles, then we're going to talk with Dorothy, then we're going to talk with Key, and then we're going to talk with Mujale. Okay. And if you have questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat if you're watching, for example, from Facebook, and we'll try and get the questions over, or if you're watching with us here via Zoom, go ahead and put your questions in. So let's start with Miles.
Hi everybody.
Hey, Miles. I'm going to
Hey.
tell you a little bit about Miles. You might have read Miles's bio. He grew up in Kirkland, Washington, and so he's local. And the natural world has always been a source of inspiration for Miles. And he spent a lot of his childhood sculpting small animals and creatures out of sculpt clay. Maybe some of you remember that. Sculpt clay. And, then he went to school and came back and got a, degree in doing what he loves, which is animations, which is wonderful when you can get a degree and actually do what you do. Many of us, like myself, have degrees and we're kind of using it. Sometimes we're not, but it's always there. So he's able to use his art. And let's get to know you a little bit, Miles. So when you started, getting into animation and you decided to go to school and get a degree there, what were some of the big takeaways that you have from your college experience?
Sure. Well, first of all, one of the big takeaways for me was how important it is to put ourselves into our work. And it sounds kind of cliche, but a lot of times when we're seeing things in the media, it can be easy to feel like, well, maybe I need to be doing it more like that to be marketable or maybe find my way in this career. But at the end of the day, what really will stand out the most is putting yourself into your work, which is what I learned a lot through my experience in college and then afterwards too.
Wow, yeah, because you talk in your bio about, bringing yourself into work, about your biracial identity as a Black man growing up in a multiracial environment and family, and your identity being at the forefront of your mind when you're creating your art. So can you tell us a little bit about how your identity shows through your stories?
Sure. Well, with the story that I'm going to be sharing later today, this short animation that I made called The Trombone, that pulls directly from a lot of the music that I heard growing up, jazz music and the soundtrack of family barbecues and things like that, and how important it is for me to have characters that reflect the people that I knew and the people in my family and the people that I have shared my life with so far and the people that matter to me. And the trombone is a great example of that, and mentorship along the way too, and having people to look to for guidance.
You're pretty lucky that you learned that early on about how your identity can show up in your work.
Yeah.
And that's really, for some, it's a risk, right? To be able to do that. And as artists, we have a little bit more, who do we really answer to ultimately as artists? So you're lucky if you're able to, at this point in your career, say, I want to share who I am. So why don't we go ahead and just get into the clip? If you don't mind, Michael or Jasmine, if you can help us share the clip of Miles Irwin's short film, The Trombone, and we'll get that ready. Thank you. I so love that clip. I mean, man, you have put so much into 1 minute, y'all, or
Oh my
however long that
gosh.
you put a full life story and
Yeah.
hope and love. Can you tell us a little bit about this particular story?
Yeah, so this is inspired by one of my favorite musicians, Troy Trombone Shorty Andrews, who's from down in New Orleans. And it delves a little bit into loosely based off of his story and how he got started as a musician. Uh, I'll go a little bit more into that in my slides when I talk about the process of how I created it. But yeah, I poured a lot into this film. 1 minute's a long time in animation.
So how long? Okay, let's talk about that. 1 minute
Yeah,
animated that we saw. How much time did it take from concept to completion to do that 1 minute?
that took about 4-ish months to do, starting from, you have to have your idea, and then how do I want the story to flow? And I was using music actually played by Trombone Shorty when he played for the Obamas at the White House. And it's a little short snippet from that performance of St. James Infirmary. And I felt like it was perfect for telling the story that I want to tell.
Wow. Okay, artists, we know it takes some time, but
Yeah.
once it's done, everyone can enjoy it so easily now with the with the virtual world. Speaking of virtual world and creativity, I just wanted to ask you about back to your story and this Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Okay, and probably coming around, maybe it was out, after you graduated or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I read it was a unique combination of computer animation, hand-drawn comic book techniques, and the main character, Miles, was a biracial 13-year-old African-American father, Puerto Rican mother. And what were your thoughts seeing that character and also the way they combine these different kinds as an animator and design graphic artist and the way they combined all of those? What are your thoughts on that film and what inspired you or what you wanted?
Yeah, well, first of all, to have a biracial character also named Miles is pretty special right off the bat. And for me to see a biracial Black character up on screen like that, especially in animation, where oftentimes animated films I feel to be lagging a little bit behind live action because they take so long to make. So the representation hasn't been where I would like it to be, but we're getting there. But to see that is so inspiring, and especially thinking about young kids coming up and having a character like that. That's the kind of character that I would have wanted to see a lot more of when I was 13. And then the combination of the computer animation with the hand drawn it really hasn't been done a lot in big budget animation. And after that, a lot of other studios kind of took note, like, okay, this is something that is people want to see, and something that, hand drawn, just because it's the older form doesn't mean that it has to go away for big budget films. And I think we're going to be starting to see more of that come in, and especially with the success of Spider-Man.
Yeah, well, thanks for giving that, background. It's always about the way that who we see and how that influences us, and also who's behind not only the character, but all the animators that we hope are behind the decisions that go into the decision-making process. Miles, I have something else I wanted to ask. You're still on your journey as an animator. What do you see are some of the pitfalls and successes that you can share with the, other artists who might be at that early phase of their career like you, and some stories or experience of friends who maybe have come up against trying to be their true selves and tell their true stories, or people who've been able to do it. Anything you want to share about your experience?
Well, one thing that I learned coming from, because I went to school down at San Jose State in California, and moving back up here, the market is very different as far as animation is concerned. Because down there you have the big studios like Disney, Pixar. Up here, there's more game studios, but we don't really have the film industry like down there. So to come up here, I had to be willing to stretch outside of my box, which meant doing more freelance opportunities, like maybe doing work for some nonprofits in the area or other companies that needed animation and how they told their stories. So overcoming that pitfall of feeling like I needed to only work in games and movies was to be open to other opportunities for storytelling for different types of organizations or companies. So a lot of it is the willingness to be flexible and willingness to try something new, learn something else, get out of your comfort zone, or go down a path that maybe you thought wasn't where animation was, but there's a lot of venues for animation.
I was just talking on Thursday night with Donna Fukushima, who's an international entertainment promoter as part of the We Out Here series. And she said the same thing. Sometimes we get really stuck in one place when we don't even realize you can take your animation anywhere.
Yeah.
Once you have it and you create that buzz, that it says is so important, of someone who can think outside of the box and can use this personal artistic form that they are so, that they're attached to. They can use it in so many ways. And that definitely creates opportunity. So, whether you're a musician, whether you're an animator, whether you're a comic book maker, a storyteller, you can tell your story and get that done in different ways. So even though I'm as an actress here in Seattle, it is hard because there's not a lot of major feature films or even independents that come here. And so we have our local scene, but that international, you have to make the best of it and put yourself, think outside the box. I'm not in LA anymore, Marianne. I'm in Seattle. How am I going to make it work?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it sounds like you are, once again, you're young, but you figured that out earlier than I did. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And different areas have different landscapes when it comes to the work that we do.
Yeah. Well, we will come back with more with Miles. Miles, I mean, it's just the beginning. Y'all learn more about Miles on his website, which we have on the We Out Here Seattle. There's a link there. You can see more of Miles's work there. And we're going to talk with Miles and get to know Miles. And I put in the chat, if you are interested in downloading the app, the Flip-A-Clip, just go to flipaclip.com and download that. And then you'll be working with Miles later during Miles's workshop, and he'll tell us more about it. So let's go to our next presenter. Thanks again, Miles. And it's Dorothy. Oh, wait, wait. Yeah, it's Key. It's Key. Sorry, Key. We're going to go to Key. And Key Porter. Key Porter enjoyed watching cartoons and reading manga, comic books on Saturday mornings in the 90s. I wonder, Key, if you had cereal you were having, because remember, everybody, please hope you're having your favorite Saturday morning cartoon cereal right now before we get into the workshops. And then she went to Evergreen State College and went to Japan as part of her studies, and came back to Seattle, and now has a number of studios and businesses where she actually does her dream of making comic books. So I would love to check in with you, Key. Key, tell us where you are right now.
Right now I'm in Pioneer Square at one of my studios, one of my first ever studios. And I'm just super happy that we're getting reception down here.
Me too. Well, it's wonderful to see you and in your studio. Before I think what's wonderful about Key is we're going to be taking a tour of her studio and seeing, where she works and how she does what she does. But Key, I wanted to ask you about Japan. I had a chance to live there also. And when you went to Japan, right, it's the world of manga and comic books. And there you are, you're a student and you're around all of this. And I'm just wondering, what were some of the experiences you had there and learning what you learned that were takeaways that you continue to incorporate in your art today and being in that vibrant environment?
So first and foremost, it was totally a cultural shock. It was my first time ever traveling outside of the United States. I go to Tamagawa University for the whole entire semester. and it was a K through college university. So basically at all times, there were different kind of students learning different disciplines at different levels. And it was just a very, very beautiful experience for me just to be welcomed by the Japanese and being able to study studio art.
Wow, cool. Well, you know, when you do storytelling too, you could storytell in so many different ways. Why did you choose comic books? And was there anything in particular that you learned about mangas maybe that we don't know, you know, when you're in Japan? But why did you choose comics? And what did you learn about mangas in Japan that we might not know about here that, you know, influences your work?
Gotcha. So growing up, I absolutely loved sequential art. It didn't matter if it was movies, cartoons, whether it be American cartoons or anime in Japan. And I just knew that I didn't have the patience and skill as animators. They do an amazing job with how they do their sequential art. And I remember my brother allowing me to read one of his Marvel comic books when we were growing up, and my love started there. And then it trickled down in academia when my second grade teacher allowed us to also watch My Neighbor Totoro, and she taught us Japanese. And so at a very young age, we were speaking Japanese and watching anime and reading manga, and it was something that always stuck with me because all of my friends were learning this whole different world of comics that were out there because we were so used to reading Marvel and DC comics. We didn't know that there was a whole other country marketing their own comic book industry. And so I totally fell in love with that experience. And while growing up, I just never let go of my sketchbook, trying to emulate and copy and really try to get into the manga drawing style. And yes, manga drawing style is very different than traditional, I would say, American cartoons and comics, just for mainly the traditional black and white that they normally do. And then also comics in Japan are read differently. So whereas we read from left to right, they read from right to left. And so basically I used to draw comic books backwards. And so that was a fun experience in itself, because reading comic books backwards, especially coming from an American point of view, will allow you to play with the beginning and ends of comics and how to begin a comic and how to end it. And so I found that as a comic book artist after Japan, I definitely started to play with how to introduce characters in different type of ways, how to make endings that no one would ever anticipate. And it's just something that I've always loved to do and will probably do for the rest of my life.
Well, that's a great start too. Maybe you can show us your studio. You wanted to show us a little bit of what you have there?
Oh yeah, sure. Give me just a second.
All right. So I should just, Key mentioned she's downtown Pioneer Square in her studio. She's got a tripod, going to show us a little bit of her studio. And then once again, you'll be able to work with Key later on to learn how to do some comic books, just something very simple. I actually am having a problem because all four of you artists, I want to go to every single breakout session. And you know, you just can't do that. I want to learn everything you have to share. So I'm sure many of the people in the audience feel the same. Okay, Key, we see you.
Okay, so I'm sorry, my camera guy is out today. So technically speaking, when you first come into the studio, there's a waiting room behind us, but where all the magic starts is basically in this room. Every time you come in here, there'll be some type of cartoon playing, whether it's Boondocks or Akira, just to really get the imagination flowing. So the first station that we have over here is kind of where all the referencing happens. In comics, sometimes it's really, really hard to get that exact angle. So a lot of times we print out a lot of reference board images to help us really craft in our panels. Here on the next station, this is where we actually do most of our storyboarding. I don't traditionally like to do storyboarding on a cork board like most people. I like my final work to be posted there, but this is basically where we take different panels and lay them out and see if the balance is really there for that page, and if the whole entire panels working together make a cohesive story. And then on this side, this is where we get to the bookmaking and little zine process. Basically, I like to do all of my own zines. A lot of people like to self-publish and publish through other companies, but I like really making, I call them micro zines for the community, just to let them know the kind of art style that I'm doing, what's new and fresh, and yeah. So, and then on this side, since we already have 3 artists that work here, besides myself, there is lockers here for their own personal storage. And then we have the cutting boards of where we cut out most of our panels. Some people like to do straight digital artwork, but me personally, I like to do everything handcrafted, just because in manga culture, mangakais, the Japanese manga artists, they really do a lot of things by ink. And so I try to do a lot of inking and then cutting out and then digitally uploading before I do any of my corrections or add any effects. So this is my studio all together. I love it. You know, a lot of people think that art studios have to be super complex, and they really don't have to be. If you have the bare bones of the things that you love in here, the things that remind you of what made you start in the first place, it'll definitely give you that momentum to basically keep on going. I mean, it definitely helps me out a lot. Anytime I have like some kind of artist block, whether I'm at home at my home studio or just in the world, I come down here and it definitely like recenters my whole entire mind and helps me become a better artist.
Boom. That was great. Mic drop. I think that, thank you for sharing with us your studio. And wow, I want to, you know, maybe people have questions more about how you made your business happen through, you know, and you have 2 locations. So we're definitely going to talk more with Key later. Remember, Key will be having a comic book workshop. Miles will be having his animation workshop. Thank you, Key. More to come. And now we will go to Dorothy. Dorothy, hey, Dorothy. Dorothy Sakabera is a writer and film director. Some of you may recognize Dorothy if you follow some of the things the Mahogany Project is doing. Dorothy and I had a great conversation and watched her full film, Rescue 2050, at ACES, which is a beautiful arts, how did I say, arts festival, I want to say, but it's really sharing with artists of color across the board. So Dorothy and I had a chance to talk. And she wrote and directed a short film called Doll, the Doll, in 2020, and an animated sci-fi short film, Rescue 2050, which we'll look at a little bit today. She's currently developing short documentaries and working on her second novel. And she holds a degree, talk about wearing multiple hats. She holds a degree in zoology from Makerere University in Uganda, and another in mass communications from Seattle U. So thank you, Dorothy, for coming. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
You did.
Yeah, wonderful.
So, you know, you can learn more about Dorothy, her bios online, just like all of our other artists. But I think, you know, today, just wanted to hear again, Dorothy, what made you turn you wrote this book? Well, actually, this is an amazing story, because Dorothy has worked this Rescue 2050 into like 3 or 4 different art forms. And correct. I love it. So can you tell us, you know, about Rescue 2050 and all the different art forms that you so far have presented this story in?
Thank you. So I've ever since I was young, I've always liked storytelling. My oldest sister is a great storyteller, And I always used to listen to her, watch, and she used to make up stories. And we always, you adore your older sibling. And then when I was about 16, I started writing down stuff seriously. And so story has been with me all my life. So when I started seriously thinking about writing stories, I came upon this idea of writing a story to educate. So to edutain. And people have used that word before. So I thought I was the only one who thought about it, but no, it's not just me. But so when the earthquake in Haiti happened, it was a big one. That's what got me like, write something that's gonna be entertaining, but educating at the same time. So with the big disasters, there is always that question about rescue. When does it ever get to the people who need it? And so I started forming a story around that. So, and my favorite media of writing story is by script writing. So I was a screenwriter for a long time, getting feedback from people, rewriting. With the scripts like that, when you want to put it in a feature film, everyone knows how expensive that is. So I pushed that for a little while. And then in the end, my story still couldn't go away. You know how it is, you put stories away and it's like, let me start doing something else. It couldn't go away. So I started trying to figure out how to make it public. And so I started writing a novel, getting feedback on the novel. And then when I finished the novel, I published it. Then after I published it, I'm like, it still couldn't go away. So I'm like, why don't you make a comic? A comic is cheaper than a movie. So I started working with some people to make a comic book. And then once that comic book came to life, I'm like, why don't you animate it? So that's how it came for me to have an animated comic episode on YouTube.
Wow. Okay. Earthquake happens. You're starting to think about search and rescue, which also is a theme that it appears a lot in your work. You write the novel. No, you write the screenplay. Then you go into a novel. Then you go into a comic book, and then you go into an animated short film.
Exactly. I'm not traditional in any way.
But it's kind of like what Miles said, it's like, you got to make it work however, and you're reaching various audiences by doing it this way. And let's go ahead. Thank you, Michael. We're going to show a little bit of Dorothy's short film, Rescue 2050, and then we'll come back to Dorothy.
The city had been bustling with nightlife less than 72 hours ago. Now, it lay in shambles, a graveyard of fallen towers and bleeding bodies. Rescue 2050.
Stop! It's okay. You're safe now. It's okay. We're here to help. My name is Ben. You've never seen a robo-man before. Look at me. What's your name?
Tia.
Tia. You can't stay here.
Okay.
And I can't take you with me. This is a good machine that will take you to a safe place. You're in good hands. We got the last one. The whole area is cleared. I'm heading back to the station for the countdown.
I'm coming over for this one, Ben.
Don't hurt yourself, Henry.
We're ahead of schedule. At this rate, the buzz is you're leading us to a new world record. Time to bring it home.
Back to work. Enough lollygagging.
All right, everyone, that's just a little bit. So you'll have to tune in. We'll put in the link for you to watch the rest of the film. Dorothy, you talked about your film, and there's this thing that you do that you've done a number of times called Pitch Fest in LA. Can you share a little, for all of the folks out there who are interested in the film business and, they have a screenplay, a television series idea, web series, any kind of story, can you tell us a little bit about these kinds of things like Pitch Fest and some of the lessons that you've learned in order to get your idea across to all these big international film production companies or TV producers? Yeah, what can you take away from that you could share with us?
Exactly. So I did that a few years ago, and I started, when I started writing my novel, I already had a screenplay, which was good. So one time there was a few people who came up from LA, and they had this pitch fest they had created, and they were very friendly, outgoing, very different from what you would find if you went, to LA. The usual the way people receive you is kind of different, but these people are friendly. So they came and marketed their pitch fest, and I went to LA to the pitch fest 3 times, and it's very exciting. I think we were in Burbank, and they continued being friendly, which was great, because then that's where you feel like you are being heard. So the pitch fest was kind of like a very fast, 3 minutes with a producer or a company like Disney, and you had to speak really quickly, and you didn't have opportunity. You had an opportunity to see maybe 5 to 10 because of the way things were set up. But you got your story in front of many people. And the first time when I pitched at American Pitch Fest, it was a different story. And that story was not taking at that point, because it was about African girls growing up in high school. So it didn't take for the longest time. So I'm like, let me write another story that is a fit for what they are looking for, or what I thought they were looking for. So that's how Rescue 2050 came in. And I'm like, okay, think about Pierce Brosnan, those kind of people. That's the main character. It has to be the main character if you're going to get a screenplay sold. And so that's how I pitched it for a couple of years. And then after that, like I said, Marianne, the big thing happened 2018 February. Everyone knows it here. The Black Panther arrived, and it totally changed my view. I don't care what Hollywood is looking for. Let me write my story like Miles said. Let's start putting in ourselves in the story. And so you will see that in my story, the pivot comes after Black Panther, but the story was written before Black Panther. But the way you do with Pitch Fest, go look for what's out there. There are plenty of Pitch Fests to do, international, not international. Don't spend too much money. That's all I have to say. But it's always try and error. Just go in and throw yourself in there, ask questions. People will be like, who are you and what are you doing here? But don't worry about them. So long as you have your story, just go pitch it. And so I think that's my main advice. Don't spend too much money and just go for it.
Yeah, thank you, Dorothy. So many great things you said. Especially it is interesting about the Black Panther, and like Miles, everybody telling their true, authentic stories, but oftentimes in this culture, it's like we don't want to hear that. But now people want to hear it. It was always there. We've always had it. So now it's our opportunity to say how we want to tell it and who we want to tell it to and how much we want to charge for our story, And so I think the other takeaway, Dorothy, as you said, is there's a lot of pitch fests and kinds of things where you can meet. Everybody just make sure they're legit too, right? Don't be, because there's a lot of things like people who you redo your research on who's at those pitch fests, what studios they're associated with, what their role is. Are they decision-making people, or is it just they're taking your money? Because these are pay-to-play kind of interactions, right, Dorothy? Usually there is some cost involved to go to a pitch fest.
Yes, because it takes money to put up one, but look for the ones that are caring, who are teaching you, like they will have classes on the side. We're going to teach you how to pitch. We're not going to let you go in by yourself. And so, yeah, and there are some that are out there like that, because when you meet with a producer or a filmmaker, they really are looking for their own story, like what they have a plan. So when you go in and you're really like a news person pitching, you might not understand the way they are what they're looking for, and you might get a little upset. But once you learn what it's all about, everyone is looking for something that's going to happen, that needs to happen for them, how they're going to make money. If you're a producer, does this make sense? Can I pitch this to the people who have the money? And so if you go in there and you talk for 2 minutes and they say no interest, then you don't get upset like, oh, I'll never pitch again in my life. It's not. Everyone is looking out for their own agendas and their own stories.
Right. Okay. So just be careful
Yeah.
about that. Yeah. No, that's great advice. Look for the ones that really want to develop the storytellers, who have the side, how to pitch your story, or, how to figure out what studio is best for your work, or something that has some goodies on the side besides just the pitch fest. So I do have a question for you, and just like I asked Miles, and we'll find out a little bit more with Key on how she got her business going, but can you suggest, here's the question, Dorothy, can you suggest budget needs for the process of and maybe we could put this all together, but for this process, so like time, money, travel. So if I was to go, I know that some people are writers who are attending this workshop, right? So they're storytellers in that regard, and they want to go to a pitch fest. And let's say it's LA, we'll take the closest big market, not New York or something. And time, money, how long, is that like a $500 expense, including the cost for the pitch fest and hotel or?
So I haven't done any recently. I think the good thing now, a lot of things are virtual. So you might not need to spend money. You just go look for the ones you want to be part of. So many of them are virtual. So I would say you would be under $100. But if you have to travel from here to LA, of course, the ticket. But the last time I think I checked, it's between $300 and $500. So you can actually spend $300 and be able to pitch. But remember that that's bare minimum, because you have to plan, like, how are you going to pitch? Are you just going to talk to people and then leave? Or are you going to also do the workshops? They will also try to do lunches. You pay for lunches to meet with producers. Producers will listen to your story then. Dinners, anything to get your story in front of somebody, you have to budget to pay a little bit more. Because if you're really, really confident about your story, you want to put it before as many people as possible, and you might have to spend a little bit more.
And it's all a risk. And then we know, like in publishing, there's the indie publishers, publish it yourself, and then you can try and make your own film too. So it really is what you want to do, right? But thank you so much, Dorothy. I appreciate it. This is good stuff. Let's go ahead to
very much.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I want to pitch a story. Let's go to Mujale. Hey, Mujale.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Man,
you're good.
Really good people here. Like, I'm amazed. Yeah,
I hear you.
Great work.
Yeah, I agree. And I can't wait, Michael B. Main and Jasmine, till we're live, till we're back in person, because I would love to do this again with all four of you, directly with people sharing your craft. I want to tell you a little bit about Mujale, who I've gotten to know really well over the past few years. We worked together on a number of things. So Mujale moved to Washington when he was 5, originally from Zambia. As an artist, he loves creating art that speaks to both himself and others about life and all the things it encompasses. The beauty, the culture, the moments, the upsides and the downsides, nature, the fear, the triumphs. Coming up in a Zimbabwean household and being surrounded by American culture, he has an understanding and love of both cultures, which he shows through his art. So thank you, Mujale. Let's talk about that merging, the identity once again coming through for all of us today on this beautiful Juneteenth. right? Our identity, who we are, our ancestors, our past, present, future, and the influences that make us the artists that we are. You mentioned your identity and the merging of Zambian and African-American identity. And I was wondering, I was thinking that we're gonna look at your work and you can share with us how that shows up, but can you tell us a little bit about how that does show up in your work, your multiple identities that many of us carry?
Yeah, definitely. So again, my story started off in Zambia, or even some of my first memories were around drawing. I remember around the age of 2 to 3, watching my dad, because my dad used to sketch, and then I used to watch him. So that's how I even got into the drawing, being going to my dad and being like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh," and then he giving me a piece of paper and a pencil, and then me I used to work off his sketches. Until the point where then I started exploring from them. Like, oh, I'm tired of working off your sketches, I'm seeing outside. I remember one of my conversations with me and my dad even had was where because I watched, he always drew the birds a certain way. And then when I started going outside and looking at the birds, I'm like, wait a minute, birds don't look like that. So I remember me drawing how I thought a bird looked, and me going back to my dad, and then my dad's been like, oh, I'm not an artist. And that's when, I stopped. That's when I moved on from my dad's drawings to now, going outside and that's when a lot of my memories started, because I used to spend hours and hours just outside drawing. So a lot of my parents were like, how do you remember that? Because I was like, oh, I spent the whole day looking at that. So with that kind of a journey to even coming here to America, and even having even a lot of the way I started to learn and interact was through my art, was through being frustrated some days because I couldn't draw an object the way I wanted it to look. So me going back and now learning creative thinking and learning how to break down shapes and then to get to that image that I wanted to. So that's even a lot of my skill sets, the way I operate, even in some of the work I do today, from business to whatever. A lot of those come from that fundamental of just being there and spending hours trying to figure something out.
Wow.
So then my journey here to America, and even with, the theme where you guys were talking about earlier, I wish I would have had that sense of more empowerment, in terms of, because a lot of the drawings I used to do were just about, the things I saw around me. And I remember even in my kindergarten class, when I started playing with more of colors, I still remember my kindergarten teacher, I drew myself blue because I was feeling sad that day. And then I remember them coming to me and being like, oh, John, you're not blue, that's, you're kind of doing it wrong. So that's where I didn't learn till later on that I was starting to discover color theory, and emotions through that. Yeah, through those journeys though, that's what really what helped me is through my art, it helped me with a lot of being either sad or meditational or just even trying to problem solve. Got me even through some tougher times, where it was I would always retreat back to the art and illustration. So with even that journey of now mixing it to the art I did in Zambia versus the art I did here. Again, I didn't really start discovering that identity because again, it wasn't really, stories weren't supposed to be about us. When I was going to school, we weren't learning about Black excellence. I didn't really even start learning about Black excellence till my 20s. So that's when my art even changed into where I started being more mixed culture, and where you see some of my paintings and drawings and illustrations where it now involves I have one about with Batman mixed with a Zambian mask and things of that nature. I'm really now just discovering more about myself and my identity and being proud of that. Yeah.
Well, that's one. I love it. Let's see some of your work, Mujale. Do you want me to? So we're going to share some of Mujale's work. I can try and bring it up, or do you want to bring it up?
Yeah, let me try to get the PowerPoint here.
And we have quite a few, so we're going to try and move through it and then get ready for our workshops.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll get a sense, and you can find Mujale's work and more about Mujale and his company. He's the CEO and creative director of Outside Think, which is a creative digital agency based here in Seattle. And so, yeah, oh, Key's going, hey. So let's see if we can, you good? And I'll put that in the chat. And I have it too, Mujala, you want me to? There we go.
Yeah.
Here,
Okay. Oh, cool.
Let me see now, everybody can see the whole thing because I have to move. Here we go, slideshow. All right.
So I just picked it along because I have a pretty diverse range of work, but the reason why I picked some of these is because if you even just scroll through them while I'm talking about them. So like even with this one, the reason why I picked a lot of these is because it kind of talks about my journey as well in terms of I was very into sports, multiple sports, and also like that also like the way I even drew is I translated to the way I played sports. So a lot of these were like around like icons and heroes that I basically idolized growing up. And then even like around this, even the story of this one too is about like if folks know about the Supersonics. And then when they got traded, went to Oklahoma and Durant became the key player, I had to make this basically like a statement piece being like Sonics would always rule over like the Oklahoma. And yeah, so, and then you got Gary Payton in the background being like, why'd you do that to him? He's just a kid.
So, wait a minute. So Mujale, this isn't from a picture or anything, right? This isn't like you took a picture and painted it. This is in your mind. Hey, Durant, you might be there, but is this what you're telling us?
And so even like, it's more of like, it's not really about the Durant versus Gary Payton. It's more about the organization moving and being like Supersonics would always be more supreme than Oklahoma or wherever that team moved to, because they took a step down by moving. So
wow, that's great.
Yeah, so this is when I started getting a little more playing around with more like comedy, just having fun with things. So that's where some of these pieces come through as well, where some are just like fun, and because the way I even look at art, it's like sometimes meditative, sometimes like comedic, but also sometimes like statement pieces. So you got to be able to approach from all those realms. Yeah, again, a sports theme, getting more into illustration. So this is when I started playing with more digital stuff, because again, I started from like a very hand-drawn, taking things that I see, then putting them in there. And then now mixing with imagination is like, all right, now what do I really want to see? And that's what some of the power that, art gives me as empowerment, being like, all right, now how do I create the world and stories that I want to see? And through art, I feel like that's a superpower. So that's why a lot of things that you see are around like empowerment and almost superhero type theme. Because superpower.
Like this one.
Yeah. So that's where like I'm starting to play now with like mixed media. Is how do I now like in my art I can fly, in my art I can change things that I can defy reality, whatever, so just playing around with how do I start doing that, and also using that to also empower people around me and get them to do the same, and tell their stories through that. So some folks that know me know that I'm a lot into photo and media. So then I was noticing like one day while I was taking pictures, and then I kind of heard a voice by camera being like, why'd you ever take a photo of me, So then I'm like, all right, what would happen if like, now like the camera came to life, and now like, like we're having a photo shoot, it's happening. So this is my camera's first photo shoot.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, playing with the tools.
Sorry, guys. Whoop. Oh, let me go. That's okay. We'll do this. We'll go back.
Okay. So then through that, now playing around with even like ideas of like, this piece was actually created like after like Black Panther. So even like growing up in Zambia and the way, I was raised in the family, like for example, when I was playing sports here, like when we used to play like backyard football, I would pick my sister first, because me and her used to practice in the backyard, so that theme of like, like, oh, you gotta have a daughter, you gotta protect her. I'm like, no, if you actually like, if you have a daughter and you teach her to be strong, then you're not gonna protect her because she's out there. She's like, so when Black Panther came around, it was like empowering like women and they were the warriors. I'm like, that's a concept, that's like, should have already been ingrained. But that's newer to some folks. But like with that too, it's like how do we now like even bring that even to the forefront even more? So playing around with like warriors and like even like gender roles, the way folks see them. Like I'm like, why can't women be the warrior? Why can't be the they lead? You know. So yeah, so that's kind of like what that is. This is a painting that I got more. So I got more into painting actually later on in my life. So again, started with drawing and illustration. And then I told you earlier about how I started kind of in my mind play with color theory before I even knew I was playing with it. Then, you know, as I started to go into more of in the school system, as we started to learn actually like how to paint, you know, and that's why I took up painting a little bit later. And this is like one of my favorite pieces. Just showing like empowerment. I want it to be, you know, like very like a very strong image, like purposely dark, but dark and beautiful, and also like very like strong, you know, like warrior type. So this one's called The Queen.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I see you did a lot of social justice work too, the next few slides.
Mm-hmm. So this kind of goes into now like how do I using my art to like draw people around me and as they're working. So it's actually based off White King's son and his friend. And this is based off actually a photo that I took of them. And we were at the We Want In rally, and seeing them like now also making them, you know, drawing them into history, because a lot of folks like they are painted after after they're gone, but I'm like, I'm actually like drawing history now as people are like doing amazing things, drawing pictures of them. You're doing those amazing things. That's like now, and then those become embedded in the community. So approaching it that way is something that I want to start doing and have been doing more and more.
Here's another example of that then.
Yeah. So I think you guys, for those that don't know, this is Nikita Oliver and this is Joaquin Garrett. So again, being around, you know, really inspired by some of their actions and the movements, the way they move, and make sure that now like the art's being created while they're still around. And common theme, this is another like a great artist. He goes by Tayshawn. Really like his music. Local. I've seen him also like, you know, go from like groups and grow a lot. So
I think there might be one more. Okay, I think that's, wow. Well, we got a great sense of, thank you, Mujale, who you are. Oh, Tayshawn, someone's like put it in the chat, who you are, how you do what you do. And I love what you said. It's really amazing. You know, like the art you're doing now, you want it to like make people a part of history now. Not wait till later. So you're drawing them into the history, and how you're incorporating multimedia and doing all of this. Just really fascinating work. I just want to ask you then, before we go into workshops, I want to be conscious of time, but I'm really into what everybody's saying. You know, as the CEO and creative director of Outside Think, you see, and you're a photographer, you're a, you know, visual artist, you do you do a lot of things. What are some of the trends and creative things that you've been seeing in our community, Seattle or locally, that when you're out there, because Mujale is everywhere, y'all, taking pictures or doing something. So what are some trends or some really innovative work that you've been seeing, or ways that people are working that maybe we all haven't considered as artists, but we could consider?
Yeah, that's a good question. That even goes to like the way I've been moving more and more in terms of like a lot of artists, they used to feel like, oh, they have to hide their idea before they're perfected. And then after they perfected, then they can put it out there. And like a whole bunch of artists in silos feeling like, you know, they have to get it out there that way. But now it's been more of like, how do we now use that creative community and be inspired? So if you are, for example, like with Martial Law Band, I was helping them with their comic book. They reached out and like now we're creating art together and more of that collaborative energy, instead of like, you know, I'll wait for my art piece to be done, then I'll present to the community, and then you wait for your art piece and do the same. But no, how do we now like create some kind of synergy now where it's like we're creating together, we're moving together, or like even visualizing, you know, where it's like now like folks like for example, like Key, you know, with comic book, that's her passion, and now using that to like spread that to like how do I use my skill sets to build on that and then create an environment where we're all collaborating, whether it looks like the way even Dorothy said, like where it started, you know, as a like an illustration, then moved on to like a graphic novel to something bigger and kind of moving in steps. So how do we help each other move in steps, whether it be like now I get the vision because I also do like video. Key comes up with a great comic book and I'm like, oh, that could be a video feature length, and I get the vision. I would start building on that. So really creating those pathways to keep growing up is the way.
I love it, y'all. We got to collaborate, pathways, putting all of our energy together and making it happen. And not only energy, visions, and resources together, and not feel like we're in the silos. And that's what I found working at Central District Forum for Arts and Ideas, where I'm the program manager there, as well as having the Mahogany Project, as well as working and seeing Jasmine and the work they do at Langston, is where there's so many artists out there. We're all in our silos, Black artists in particular, folks from the diaspora, and we're in Tacoma, and we're here, and we're in Everett, and we're in our silos, and we have so much power individually and so much more power together to share. Actors, especially voiceover artists, could work on Dorothy's film. You know, we could pose, models could pose for Key if she needed somebody to, you know, like, I just want to meet, right? I mean, there's so much. So collaboration, y'all. So I would like to begin to talk a little bit. I just want to make some comments we're getting into the chat, which I love, y'all. Put it in the chat, put it in the chat. Hey, please propose. This is from Miss Minnie. Please propose to the Northwest African American Museum this program and an exhibit workshop for 2022. Okay, Minnie. The museum has a youth curators program. The youth will love all of you. Thank you. And our artists here love working with youth, so we appreciate that. Here's another comment. The workshop is really great. We need to include this in our classroom curriculum so young artists can see themselves in this process. Yes. Thank you, Noni, Irvin. So let's get to the young artists and everyone in this space, even if you're not so young, like, well, you know, whatever. I won't call myself out, but I think I just did. So we are now going to go to the workshop portion of this wonderful morning. Juneteenth, y'all. Remember our ancestors and remember everyone today. And this workshop gives you a chance to celebrate yourself, your creativity with all of these wonderful artists. What I'm going to ask is that each artist just take a moment to share a little bit about what their workshop will entail. And then we'll have, it's about 12:06, we're right on time. We'll have about 35, 40 minutes in the workshop. That'll give the time for the artists to like kind of share what they're doing and then how you can do that. Get your paper, pencil, pen, whatever you're going to use together. And then we will come back as a group. And if you want to put your camera on and share what you've drawn or something you learned, then you're free to do that. You can also just put that in the chat if you'd like to do that. So why don't we start back with Miles? Miles, can you share a little bit about what your workshop will be?
Sure. So the trombone film was a hand-drawn animated short. So for my workshop, we'll be using this app, this free app called Flip-a-Clip, which you can get on Google Play Store if you're on Android, or in the App Store for iPhone. And there I'll be teaching you a little bit about hand-drawn animation, and we'll be animating a frog catching a fly with its tongue.
Oh man, that is so classic. I love it. Okay. Hello, my darling. Hello. Anyways, the frog, the animated frog. So go with Miles, download Flip-a-Clip. Let's hear what Dorothy is. Well, I always go to Dorothy. Let's go with Dorothy, what you're going to do.
Okay, so I am going to take you using Rescue 2050 as a template, going to take you through a couple topics that you should think through as a creative. So we're going to talk about the story, script, illustration, animation, publishing, and marketing. So we'll, if we come up with an idea, we can talk through the idea, but I will use that Rescue 2050 as a template.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dorothy. Okay, let's go with Key. Key, what are you going to share today?
In my workshop today, I will do a start to finish of how to create a micro zine. So feel free to come in and make a quick comic book with me.
Ooh, okay, hey. All right, there we go. A zine. And Mujale, what are you going to do? And if you guys want to type it in the chat also, just a quick, I'm trying to keep up, but if you want to type in the chat what you're going to be doing, you can feel free to do that. Okay, yeah. Mujale, how about yourself?
Yeah, so mine's gonna be an intro to illustration and storyboarding. So the end is we're gonna create a storyboard together with a theme of superpowers. So we're gonna learn about character development and environmental development, and then how to put it together to create a quick little storyboard.
Okay, all right now. So what we're gonna do then, I think, and let me check in with, thank you everyone. You can go ahead and join one of the sessions. And some of you might say, well, Marianne, I want to start here and I want to go back there. Then I hear you. I don't know. Let's see if we can do that. I'm not sure. But whatever we do, we'll have a way for you to connect with, you can connect with the Mahogany Project later. Just want to let you know if you have any questions or you want more time with the artist or you want to reach out. But Key's Room, how to make a zine. Mujale, create a storyboard with the theme of superpowers. Dorothy's going to do a little bit of storytelling, walk through a story from the start to the actual making of the film. And Miles, of course, doing animation, how to do a little animated film using this app, Flip-a-Clip. The breakout rooms are open. You can choose whichever room you like. Artists, just stay put and people will join you. So we'll see you guys back at about 12:40. Let's shoot for that. And I hate saying shoot. And I hate saying aim. Look how violent our language is. Let's think about that one and come back at that time. Have fun in your breakouts, everyone. Choose whichever room you like. And if you have a problem you can't choose, you'll probably just be with whoever is left in the room. We'll help you get there. Okay, it sounds like a few of you are having some problems joining in. Look for 3 dots at the bottom of your screen. And do you see 3 dots on the bottom of your screen? It might say more. And then when you click the more button, it says join a breakout room. And then when you join that breakout room, you'll be able to see Miles's, Dorothy's, Keys, Mujale's, okay? So I hope that's helpful.
We try to be on time, Michael.
Y'all are totally good. You're totally good.
You know what? Yeah, you know what I'm thinking? It's like if they're still there, I might go take a look at the other rooms.
I wanted to join, but I had to keep it here for the stream. So for everybody who's watching the stream, hello. Yeah, so good to have y'all here. Thank you so much for being here today.
Good job. Appreciate. I love it. It's good to know what's out here for us, and happy to do it again, of course. But yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I see a lot of sessions from many years, from other years that on YouTube. So also watch those.
Oh, cool. Thank you for doing that.
Oh yeah, I will. Yeah. Now that we know, we'll definitely use the resources we have.
Cool. If there's ever anything you want to do in the future, anything, or if you're streaming something or presenting something and you want additional amplification or something, feel free to let me know. I'll do what I can to take care of the people.
Fantastic. Good. I have episode 2 coming up. I don't know in how many months, but it's in the works. So
yeah,
looking forward to using my any platform I can use. That would be great.
Nice. Yeah, just let me know.
All right. Thanks.
I'm gonna go hide again.
Okay.
All right.
Hello. Everyone is back.
Yes. Michael, for some reason I can't get my video back. Welcome back. Thank you. And thank you, Jasmine, if that was you. Hey, all right. We're coming back, whether we wanted to or not. I know, and everyone who would like to be seen, feel free to be seen. I can see Joe Kadushin there. Don't forget to, Asa.
Yay.
Sorry, I haven't seen Asa in a few years. And that is Miles Baum and a friend of mine, Asa. There's Mbalia. Oh. Hey, they're my cuz. Anyone who would like to come back, please do. If you'd like to stay off camera, you can. We only have, we have about 10 minutes or so left. And the first thing as we come back and share out how your sessions were, I just visited everybody's room. I don't even want to start crying, y'all. Y'all just were amazing. Everyone was on their game. and you love your craft, you loved your art, and you love sharing it with us. And I, even in 5 minutes in each room, I learned so much about who you are as an artist and why you do the work you do. And with that, I want to open with Key, because Key was sharing, she's also a businesswoman, 2 studios, y'all. Key, can you share with us how artists can think about their art in terms of making it into a business and how we can protect our art? Oh, wait, unmute, please, Key, I'm sorry.
Oh, my bad. So basically, if you guys want to start a business, no matter what type of medium that you're in, please visit the city of Seattle. Please get your business registered with the state. Please get an EIN number. Definitely start reaching out to the different organizations, nonprofit and for-profit, that are centered around supporting you as an artist. Get to know these people, love on them as much as you love your art, so they can feel your art within you. And definitely, if you cannot afford trademarking, copywriting, I would say, with all of your original arts, please make a copy of it, but send the original to yourself. You want to sign, date, whatever you have to do to make it official, to definitely put that stamp on there to say that it is your original idea. With artists, and especially artists of color, we lose a lot of our intellectual property and creative control when we don't do these little receipts for ourselves. And even our state, even if you can't pay for the trademark through our government, like the big federal peoples, please check out trademarking with your city. I think with Seattle, it's like $50 versus like $500 and something. So please check out how to copyright and trademark your art. And definitely, if you want to make it into a business, it's simple. It's as simple as just registering with your state.
Wow. All right, y'all, that's real deal, because yeah, as Key was saying, the appropriation of all of our creative ideas, and you know, if we don't trademark it or copyright it or make sure that it's owned, we put it out there, and we do have that. And of course, you have to have lawyers tracking it and everything. I mean, because it's global. Your art will be taken global and you won't even know it. So let's talk about the breakout rooms. Let's start with Mujale. Those artists, and I'm calling everyone an artist today because this morning we all are artists. And even throughout our lives, whether we know it or not, you're always creating something. I know there was Joe, and I'm calling you out. And Marin, if you don't want to show yourself, that's fine. But anything you want to share about Mujale's superhero workshop? I heard the superheroes you guys were creating. It was so much fun. Joe or Marin, you want to say anything?
Yeah, it was actually a lot of fun. I never really thought about drawing, but Mujale, you know, with these little, broke it down, like made it was actually doable, like little squares, little circles. Yeah, it was fun. And then the idea of coming up with a character and a whole storyline. Yeah, I had a great time.
Can you tell them about your character?
Mine was the common man who rides a bicycle and having to deal with all the problems of potholes. And Mujali didn't hear this, but I was going to get it into like, the global warming, and I was going to go much bigger, but we didn't have enough time. But Mujali, that was great. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I really felt like I got to flex my creative muscle. So thank you so much for helping me with that.
Yeah, let them know about your story, your character.
Oh yeah, mine was Miss Perfect, and her superpower is the ability to correct any mistake. So if there's like a bank robber or something like that, she's able to catch them with ease, bring that person to justice, and then restore order. So then everything is organized and perfect again. And her weakness is that the environment she's in is in a constant state of disarray, which kind of pulls Miss Perfect in multiple directions. So it's hard to be able to fight multiple situations at the same time. So she has to pick and choose what she puts her attention towards.
Wow. Yeah, look at Miss Perfect and Mr. Bicycle Man with the potholes, I think is his weakness or something, or he has the power to correct the potholes. Anything that you're learning today, of course, this isn't the end. I hope that both of you continue to write your story and create your superhero. Thank you so much, Mujale. Let's go to Dorothy. Dorothy, tell us a little bit about, oh my gosh, Dorothy's storyboarding and how to make the story happen. And your guest was the other Dorothy. Dorothy.
Exactly. So so we went through how Rescue 2050 comic on YouTube came to be about, and I showed a few clips on how the storyboard happened, and then up to the coloring, all the way to the lettering for the comic book, and then the animation. And we talked a little bit about the budget, how you constantly are thinking about the budget so that you're not surprised along the way, and then also the learning. So for example, one learning I had is part of this process had an agent on it because I couldn't find the talent or I didn't know where to look. But now with the learning, I have to pivot to a more cheaper path, like using Fiverr. I discovered Fiverr halfway through. So, and then also Dorothy and I went through an idea that she has. Dorothy, do you want to share a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm a creative as well. I love writing music and stuff like that.
Do you want to share your video?
Oh, okay. Hello. Yeah, so I'm a creative. I really love writing music. So I was just like, you know what if I created my own musical? So we were kind of talking through what that could look like just based off of the example of 2050. So it was really great to like just kind of walk through what that would look like. And I was like, oh, I want to create an album first and then maybe a musical. So
who are you creating it for? Who's the main character?
So it's inspired by Congressman John Lewis, who recently passed away last year. So I've been really inspired by his life, and so have been writing different songs about him, and was hoping to turn that into a musical. So yeah, trying to figure that out, and it was really great to like talk to somebody through that. And yeah. I was hit with a lot of really good ideas of like just like first step, writing down the idea and the storyline and going from there. So yeah.
Good. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. Good luck. See, I love it because talking with this Dorothy Sekibera, you thought, okay, she's already taken it through all these things, comic book, screenplay, movie. Why can't I make that album? I'll do my musical. It'll be turned into a film, like, and keep on going, sis. Beautiful. Let's go to Miles's room. And Miles, you want to share, or anyone want to share out a little bit about the experience with Miles and the animation?
First of all, I want to say that everybody was a great animator. Now, animation can be a little tough, and I wish that I could share my screen with everybody so that you could see exactly what you're doing, but hopefully gave you a little taste about the process of hand-drawn animation. You hopefully have some beautiful frogs.
Wonderful. Well, I see QT came on board. Caroline, hi, Brandon. Anyone, one or two comments about the experience with Miles?
It was Zimbalia. It was so fun. I mean, we were working with this app, which I would have had no idea was out there before today, and it's going to be something fun to use with my daughter. I already have some ideas of how to like try to use the tips and tricks that we learned today to create our own little cartoons. So it's going to be total fun. Like horrible drawing, but that's not the point. It's the techniques and the ideas behind it, and just to have a feeling of like, oh, you can actually create an animation without being a perfect freehand drawer on paper, right? Like that whole thing, and actually being able to do it, have a tool to do that in an app is totally cool. So thanks, Miles. That was a lot of fun.
Welcome.
So one more comment. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was very fun. It's very involved, at least with regards to what we did. And so I'm not sure what medium or kind of what happens when he actually does his own sketch with regards to like the trombone, but much respect. And my frog, I mean, it was horrible, but but you know, I mean, when I played the animation, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
So with a lot of respect with regards to the end product, based on what we kind of did. If that's something similar to what you do on a kind of bigger scale with regards to what you do and what we did, yeah, it's very difficult.
It is.
Well, I love it. And you know what? Your frog is your frog, right? Nobody can draw that frog the way you did. And that's a good thing. So you better, because your frog could be the frog. So I'm not kidding, Brandon. And Brandon's a friend. I mean, you never know, right? It's true that. That's right. And Caroline, you want to say something?
You're a very good friend, Marianne. Thank you.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed, thank you, Miles. And he was patient with all of us. And I guess we're all using different, gadgets. I was using my Samsung. And so, the little icons are different when he says, oh, click on this and click on that, but he was patient. And I appreciate now knowing how to create a little video, so, and it just, I am now in the world that I did not know. I appreciate and I wish I could do, but I now see how actually easy it is for me to express myself if I ever want to express myself. If I ever want, so I mean, I'm wondering now if I can put different pictures in those little boxes, how I can import different pictures in those little boxes so that I can, create things that are, like dropping into stuff, and so forth. Just get creative. I'm not very good in drawing, but if I can have like a box of something and then I have something dropping into it, and do different stuff.
I didn't get a chance to. Oh, sorry for cutting you. I just wanted to let you know that you can do that. I didn't get a chance to tell you that, but you can bring in your own pictures instead of drawings. Yeah.
I really appreciate you all artists for, how you're trying to allow us to express ourselves in different ways. Dorothy, shout out to you, my girl. You've come a long way, and just how you are able to really think like, how am I going to do this? And, should I do a script first or should I do a book first and so forth? That also helps us understand, open up ways to think of our own, how to express ourselves in many different ways. Not necessarily in an artistic way, even in just, just relaxing, therapy way. So thank you for all you artists, for all you do, and congratulations for all the successes that you're achieving. And Marianne, congratulations on your program.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Caroline. Well, gosh, we're running out of time. We're going to hear from Key. Key, do you mind sharing how your session went? And then I think we had James in the session. Sorry, James, I'm gonna call you out. But if you want to add anything, go ahead.
So basically, we did the starting on currently called the Cotton Candy Ballerina with one of my youngest clients, which is a 9-year-old named Cece. And so we walked into through the comic book process. What is the difference between a zine and a comic book? 2 different ways on how to actually bind the comic book and how to actually put it in the plastic casing, and how to protect yourself as an artist. That was something that I didn't think that I was going to talk about in my session, but something that definitely kind of pulled at my heartstrings as I started to end, like, protect yourself. If anything, love the art that you do, love doing it, but know that you have to protect yourself in this industry.
Yes, yes. And anything you want to share, James, about the session? If not, that's fine too. Just wanted to make sure I got your voice heard. If you,
I will say it was really dope learning about the copyright thing, especially for like the cheap way, because it can get expensive trying to copyright different logos and brands and stuff along those lines, especially if you have more than one for one entity. They charge you per copyright, not like for its entirety. learning how dope it is to, how your cover of your comic can pretty much structure the rest of the comic, or at least its art and illustration. How to draw something that's going to be more of eye-catching or pop to the consumer, and then pretty much the storyboarding of how the comic goes from beginning to end. I'm an artist, but on the same hand, I'm not good at when it comes to writing out stories. So just learning different steps and different ways to be able to create a storyboard in order to have more fluent movement through the comic is great.
Yeah, thank you. And us artists who maybe work in different realms, I've learned so much today, and I feel like I want to get the flip a clip and start trying that. I definitely want to hook up with Key and get I got to, make my own little comic. I have an idea, I want to create a superhero. I've never thought about it. My own, why not? Shoot, somebody's got to create them. Why not us, right? And then I just need to get together with Dorothy about, an idea to take my stories further in a different art form than just writing, as a member of the African American Writers Alliance, plug. All right, so I'm gonna we're gonna do some comments and we're gonna be signing out. Everyone, comment from Langston. Thank you, Jasmine. This has been amazing. You all are brilliant. Thank you so much, Ambalia. You are talented, so talented, everybody, so talented and so true. Let me see, Mujale, thanking Marin and Joe for the work they did. I know all of you remember this is being recorded, and by having your videos, it's your consent to be recorded. So before we leave, if there's a problem with that, let us know. The breakout rooms were not necessarily recorded. And actually, I think that's okay, because I feel like, talk about protecting your work. We want to do another session, but you all did such great breakouts that you might want to consider having that. And I'm going to talk to you again to come back to package that and get you guys, let's do another session. So thank you so much, everyone. There's Michael B. Main. We're going to be logging out. If you have any questions or want anything more, where can we see the trombone short? Miles, do you mind just putting, let's put your he has a box of artist page that he can put in the chat, and you can check that out. Please visit the mahoganyproject.org. If you have any questions, sign up to receive our newsletter or to ask any questions, or if you want to connect with these artists directly. I really appreciate all of you on this beautiful Saturday morning. It's now 1 o'clock, a little after. Please go out and enjoy all the Juneteenth festivals that are taking place as we dedicate ourselves to this special day. And on the We Out Here Seattle website, you can find all the different events. If you are in the Seattle area, Federal Way, East Side, there's events taking place all over, and it's on our website. So maybe we'll see you at Judkins Park or at Jimi Hendrix Park, because that's where we're going. Thank you so much, everyone. And anything you want to say? This is Michael B. Main, one of the producers of We Out Here Seattle. It's Michael's vision, this whole thing, along with Langston Seattle for the support. Michael, you want to give anything you want to say?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for being here. This is very special for me. I know growing up, I used to love Saturday morning cartoons. So Marianne, thank you for calling it that. Thank you for all the work you put in. You already are a superhero as far as I'm concerned. And so I applaud you and applaud everybody else for choosing to spend their time here today. I'm not going to take up too much time. It's Saturday morning. I want to make sure you all enjoy your weekends and everything. But seriously, this is beautiful. We Out Here is about celebrating Blackness in all of its forms and all of its excellence. And as I said before, not just in the academic realm, but just all the ways that we show up for ourselves and for each other. And it's beautiful to be able to bear witness to all of your beings and your excellence. And thank you for being here. So that's all I'll say. Just thank you for helping make this dream a reality for not just me, but for so many other people.
Absolutely. And it will be on the website, so you can tell your friends later. We want to get hits to everybody's artist page, so visit everybody. And thanks, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, what's going on in Jackson Park? I'll tell you. Look at We Out Here Seattle, and you'll see it.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay, bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
And thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Bye, Miles.
Thank you.
See you.